Mike, summer is here and it's time to get outside and into some national parks.
That's right, Dusty. And since summer is the high season for so many national parks, be sure to take a Moon travel guide with you.
We all know how time consuming it is to research everything involved with planning a trip to a national park, from hiking trails to permits to campsites to accommodations. There's so much involved.
Don't spend endless hours searching and trying to build the perfect trip when you can do it all with Moon travel guides.
Moon Travel is the travel guidebook publisher for ethical and sustainable travel. They are committed to the national parks and ensure that all of their guides are up to date with the most recent and most helpful info for travelers.
And if you find yourself headed to Wyoming this summer, then be sure to include the newest, most updated edition of the Moon Travel Guide to Yellowstone and Grand Teton, hiking, camping, and wildlife. In this guide, outdoor expert Becky Lomax takes you through everything you need to see, know, and understand about these two neighboring parks.
From trip planning, the best spots and times for geysers, sightings, food recommendation, lodging, campsites, the best trail info for hiking, updated maps, this Moon Travel Guide to Yellowstone and Grand Teton has you covered.
And for more information and to purchase the Moon Travel Guide to Yellowstone and Grand Teton, be sure to visit moon.com.
Let your heart be your compass. Let Moon be your guide. You know what I just love?
My kids.
My kids. My kids, especially when they're screaming kids.
They are my favorite.
They're my favorite. Screaming,
They just gotta let it
feral
out.
kids. They do. We actually just encountered some screaming kids at a campground.
We did.
That was a fun experience, said no one.
Well, I deal with screaming kids all day long.
You
so.
do. That is true. That is true. That
No
is
one
your
holding
job.
a candle to my screaming children quota.
No. Yeah. Screaming kids indeed. I mean, listen, I get it. Sometimes there are certain young people who need to make loud sounds for certain reasons, and I get that, right? I've got kids in my family who, like, that is their way of expressing, communicating, and I understand that.
We're talking about people who are nonverbal.
Who are nonverbal.
Yes.
That is true. However, there's a difference between that kind of sound making and then just like
Screaming to scream.
absolute chaos, screaming to scream, zero awareness of self or surroundings kind of situation, right? I mean, it's very easy to blame parents. I get it. Like, especially when it's like, okay, well, then why did we place them in these surroundings if this is the situation? I get it. I understand. It's very easy to do that. And I'm not, for the record, talking about babies. Babies can scream all they want, is all I have to say. I understand it. It's hard to be a baby, right? That's the only way you let people know what you need. I get it. I'm talking about like little people who have the wherewithal to have a sense of their surroundings and don't. And
Right.
then the grown-ups around them just enable them.
Or at the very least, don't reprimand them for
Yeah.
their lack of self-awareness.
How about that girl on that plane who literally slapped her younger sibling in the face? It was so loud, we all heard it. And the mom was literally like, Jenny, don't.
I think the name was something like more like Mackenzie. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
like
Mackenzie, don't.
yeah, it was a very like a posh now name, not Jenny.
Jenny.
Jenny don't. That's like something
Jenny, don't.
Forrest would say.
Jenny, don't.
Jenny don't. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like Mackenzie
Or Harper.
Brenolin or something
Brenolin.
like that.
Right.
Yeah. She was wearing
Right.
crinoline. No, Brenolin in her crinoline.
That's right. I have a hard time with volume at this point in my life, especially being in the classroom all day long. It's definitely something to adjust. I said to students the other day, I was like, the volume in here is like a concert and it needs to be like a church. One of my kids said, I don't go to church, Mr. Ryan. I was like, I don't either, but I think you know what I'm talking about. And that's exactly what I want. I want church level volume most times. Reverent.
So tell me about
quiet.
when you started going to church and clocking the volume. I'm sorry, going back to church and clocking the volume.
Well, I haven't been to church in a very long time, but
Mhm.
I don't think it's become like a rave.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think so either.
Except for when
I'm like,
they're
is
like,
there a
let us proclaim the mystery of our faith.
I'm
That's
just
about as loud as it
wondering
gets.
If there's like some other kind of like example to use other than I want it to sound like a church. I'm like, I don't know. I want it to sound like a doctor's office.
I'd
where
love it
you're
to sound like a cemetery.
great. Well, I was gonna say like a doctor's office
tomb.
awaiting results, but I know that was a little dark.
It was really
That was
dark.
a little dark.
Mhm.
No, is there another space that is?
It's reverent and quiet.
I don't know. I guess we'll have to work on that.
Mm.
That particular phrase. I want it to sound like a church. Oh, so you want me to just sit here and like
In shame.
in shame, acting like I'm like or feeling like I'm not worthy of being in this space? Because we can do that too.
Looking for adventure, I want to follow on the trail, or get a little lost and let the wind fill my sails. Get up when the stars still fill the sky, don't wake the sun, there's so much to be done, and the day has just begun. Go where the postcards are real, you can feel, you can open your eyes, and open your heart when you gaze at the national park. At the national park. At the national park. Follow you, I'll follow you there.
We would like to acknowledge that while visiting the land, also known as Carlsbad Caverns National Park, that we are on the traditional and stolen lands of the Mescalero Apache and the Lipan Apache.
Okay, so last time on Gaze, we had just done the natural entrance.
Dun, dun, dun.
Here at Carlsbad Cavern National Park.
Mm-hmm.
And this was on a trip that we had done down to this area where we saw Carlsbad Cavern,
Guadalupe Mountains,
Saguaro, and White Sands with our dear friend Becky Lomax.
That's right.
And
it was
so
a spring break trip to the
this
Southwest.
Was our second day of the trip, and we had just done Guadalupe Mountain. We had climbed Guadalupe Peak the day before. And now this day we're at Carlsbad. We started the day by doing the lower cave tour, followed by walking into Carlsbad Cavern, the main area,
entrance.
Through the natural entrance, which is its own experience and its own episode, number 139. And now here we are about to explore the big room, which also deserves its own episode.
It's true. It is expansive, as per the name, and wonderful, and probably some of the wildest cave formations you'll ever see. So, well-deserving.
That's right. And upon finishing this particular hike today, the Big Room Trail, we were going to be faced with a decision to either walk out again through the natural entrance, which is an entirely decline descent into this cave.
So a lot of incline up.
It would be entirely inclined on the way back up, or take the elevator.
Right, which we'd already done twice.
Which we had done twice to do the lower cave tour.
That's true.
So we're standing in the lunchroom.
This is exactly where we started our day when we were on the lower cave tour. And it's sort of like the center point of the cave. It's part of the cave that's kind of the transition point from the natural entrance to the big room area. There's also restrooms that are right here. It's kind of like a hub area, essentially.
So we highly recommend using these restrooms. They are restrooms with plumbing that have been built into the cave.
Yes. It's very interesting.
It's very wild.
Yeah.
There used to be like a visitor center area here, a concession area here, food, snacks,
Hence
things.
the lunchroom.
Hence the lunchroom name. That's not anymore. You can find that up top.
I mean, you can still see the remnants of it, which is kind of ghostly and weird.
And feels very 1960s.
Yes, but you can go and do most of those things above ground level at this point. So
it does feel a little lost in space, a little
blast from the past.
Jetsons, a little bit like that, like the Brady Bunch, a little like that area.
That definitely. So after taking a moment here to use the restrooms and regroup, we start off on the Big Room Trail. The Big Room Trail is a loop through the biggest part of the cavern, and it's the 5th largest single cave chamber in North America and 28th largest in the world. It measures 4,000 feet long, 625 feet wide, and 255 feet tall at its tallest point.
So there is one other NPS cave on that list of 5 largest single cavern caves that makes that top 5 list. Do you know which cave in the NPS makes that list? Because this is the top 5 in North America.
I'd imagine it's
So
Mammoth
we're talking
Cave,
Canada, and also Mexico. No, actually,
Is it Jewel
not
Cave?
Mammoth Cave. It is Jewel Cave.
Interesting.
Correct.
We
It
didn't
is
get a
Jewel
chance
Cave,
to get
which
there.
We didn't get to go to,
Yeah.
but yeah.
We'll be like literally moments away from it. Not moments, but we'll be relatively close in the summer
It's true.
when we head very briefly to South Dakota for a wedding. But I don't think we'll have the time to get to Jewel Cave. But
No.
maybe Custer.
Maybe
So,
Custer.
mhm.
So the signage that's for the Big Room Trail, it does say that it is about 1.25 miles long and would take about 90 minutes. There is a shortcut that one could take if you didn't want to do the entire loop, right? Because it is just one loop around.
Mhm.
You walk the whole loop.
And so you can start the loop in either direction. We chose to go counterclockwise or start off by going to the right. The trail in this room is mostly wheelchair accessible for the entire route. And with the elevator, that means that wheelchair users can easily access and explore the big room. This is important because it is not recommended to go in a wheelchair down through the natural entrance because of the grade. So the fact that the big room is elevator accessible and paved is really wonderful to be able to have the opportunity to see the cave in this way, because Mammoth Cave and Wind Cave, not that way.
No,
No.
not like that.
Some of Wind Cave is accessible because you do have to take an elevator down, but
Mhm.
there are a lot of stairs in Wind Cave, and Mammoth Cave, in order to get into the cave, the only way we got in was through the
It
natural
was an
entrance.
escalator, but there
There was no escalator in Mammoth Cave.
No?
No, stairs.
Oh, it was stairs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
So
like, what mall fantasy cave were you living in?
I don't know. I was at the mall yesterday.
The Brentwood Mall Cave.
The Brentwood Mall cave. In Brentwood. I give you the most beautiful house in Brentwood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if you got that reference, that was Mommy Dearest, and
Mhm.
you know what that means.
Mhm.
You're gay. So
And there's no wire hangers in your closet.
no,
because
there's
of
no,
trauma.
Because of trauma.
Mhm.
That's right.
Mhm.
That's right. What are wire hangers doing in this
Mhm.
closet?
Mhm.
Christina. So the trail is broken up by its cave formations. Like they sort of act as the checkpoints throughout
Mhm.
this big room, because it is literally just an entire gigantic room full of incredible cave formations.
Yeah, speleothems for days.
Yes, speleothes, speleothems, right and left.
That's right.
They're everywhere.
That's
and
true.
it is spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
We have to take a moment to talk about lighting design. We talked
Yeah.
about it in Natural Entrance. We
Mhm.
have to talk about it again here. The lighting design in caves,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
It's truly the most sort of beautiful but kind of nefarious lighting that one will see. Like,
Nefarious.
yeah, it feels like very
Evil?
like I'm entering into Dracula's realm. Yeah, there's like an
Maybe
air
nefarious feels like related to intention. I feel like I don't feel like anybody's trying to cause evil to me by the
well,
lighting.
Have you met me?
Is it,
because there's
like,
evil always coming?
Could we
with lighting.
describe it as like, I don't know, like grotesque, baroque, something like that?
Sure, gothic. How
Gothic,
about? That's
gothic
what we'll say.
lighting. Yeah,
It does
I like
feel
that.
very gothic,
Mhm.
not nefarious.
Mhm.
Although you'll get some nefarious lighting later on. That's
Oh,
for
I'm sure.
When you're like, that photo doesn't work of me, and I'm like, oh, but it does.
No,
Nefarious
that's your
lighting.
nefarious intentions,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But yeah, the cave lighting is so beautiful here. We got a taste of it also in Lower Cave when we were in the large kind of open room. But this is a whole other level, especially because the light is catching so many facets of the speleothems that we're seeing, from columns to stalagmites to stalactites to drapery. It's very well intentioned here in how the design was crafted to make the visual experience a beautiful one for everyone that's moving through the tour down here.
So while there are many, many different cave formations here that have names and very distinct features. We will be mentioning the ones that we just couldn't forget. There are so many. These are the ones that we definitely remember and like took a moment with. Also note that photography down in the cave is tough. The smartphones have certainly gotten better at like cave photography for sure.
And just like low light photography,
Yes,
we'll say.
They have gotten a lot better with that. Now, if you're using a DSLR, that means you're going to have to use one that has like a really high ISO and there's no tripods allowed. So you are going to just have to have a very steady hand.
Yeah, like brace yourself against something,
Yeah.
like hold your arms into your body, create a tripod with your legs, do whatever you have to stay still.
And if you need tips, Mike has a YouTube channel where he talks all about how to create tripods with your legs.
It's true.
Yeah, so
it's
like
part of
and
my yoga
subscribe.
training. Let's talk about some of these cave formations.
Mhm.
They are also known as speleothems or speleotheses, as we just coined, which is great. I'm sure someone else has said that before.
Sure.
But do go listen to our trail mix on cave formations from 2 seasons ago, a season ago. It's in our episode finder. You can definitely find it, and it will be a great primer for you if you haven't experienced a cave before. And even if you listen to some of the earlier episodes on Carlsbad, the natural entrance, and also the lower cave tour, you'll hear a little bit about speleothems there.
I think it's also important here to note that Carlsbad is a very specific kind of cave, unlike most of the rest of the caves that we have here in the United States, especially, but North America really, which are made of limestone and are formed from carbonic acid, so carbon. This is from the MPS, talking about how it is sulfuric. We did mention this in the natural entrance episode, but it's worth repeating here just for the context. But quote, the caves in Carlsbad are unusual as they are formed from sulfuric acid instead of carbonic acid. Most caves in the world are formed when water interacts with carbon dioxide and seeps downward. Hydrogen sulfide rich water rose from the oil reserves in this area as late as 12 million years ago and mixed with groundwater to form sulfuric acid. The limestone was dissolved at the water table, and therefore Carlsbad Caverns was dissolved from below and not from above. Gypsum blocks, a byproduct of sulfuric acid dissolution, can be seen today on the floor of the big room of Carlsbad Caverns. End quote.
All right, so let's talk about formations as we move through this tour. So one of the first things that we come across is the lion's tail. This speleothem looks like a stalactite that comes down from the ceiling, and rather than coming to a drip point like most stalactites, it features a bunch of cave popcorn, making it look like the end of a lion's tail. So
it could also look like, what do they call those things? They used to be old medieval weapons.
Like a pike?
Is that what it's called? It's like the rock that has all the like, not the round.
Like a mace?
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like a round
like
ball
all the spikes
that has
coming
spikes.
out of it.
It's a mace, yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
Girl, you better know your medieval weaponry.
Well, I
Somebody
knew that you would know.
Somebody needs to go to the armory section of the Met.
Clearly. Yeah, so it kind of looks like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hanging from the ceiling. I mean, again, lit very well. You
of
can
course.
see it very clearly. Not long after this, there is the giant dome is what it's called, and it is this enormous stalagmite, which means from the ground. It is thick, it's massive, it features internal drapery throughout. I mean, it's huge. And the trail that we're on actually wraps around it so you can see it from all different kinds of angles.
As we are walking here, the trail itself is paved and has railings on either side. As we're winding our way through this part of the big room, nothing is disappointing by any means. So this is a feast for the eyes the entire time. I think my mouth was agape basically the entire time because this is sights unseen. The caves here, the formations in Carlsbad are more stunning than any other cave that we have been in. And this is the third cave we visited of the big 63 national parks. And we definitely saved the best for last, and I'm glad this is what we saw last because it would have blown everything out of the water. There are cave formations that are just highlighted by light literally everywhere we turn, and what a truly tremendous space it is to see.
Also, right around this time is when we start encountering the Screaming Kids. That's right. Families and there were so many families exploring the big room.
Yeah.
Who did not have screaming kids, who had wonderful kids,
well-behaved
who
children,
were curious and asking questions, and then there were the ones that were literally just running up and down, throwing themselves through the railing, and I just was like, oh no, like we're just gonna injure ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's also a matter of teaching your kids how to behave in a space, and if you again are going to a concert, it's one thing, but if you're in church, it's another. Sorry to bring it back to that. Your disappointed face.
I'm just so shocked because
I'm so anti-church.
Yes. You're making a lot of references to church today.
Well, I just wanted you to know that this is not only an episode, it's an intervention from my church habit now.
Is that? Okay, great. Well.
And by that, I'm inviting you back.
Intervening yourself.
Intervening myself and trying to intervene you to come back.
Honey, honey, I'm sorry. No, when you have to go to mass 4 times in a day, you never want to go back. Okay, so we continue on the trail to this spot called Fairyland.
We were right at home.
We were. It's true. So I think it is pretty aptly named because there's a ton of tiny little drip castle formations on the ground. Technically, I guess you'd call them stalagmites, right? But cave formations can also be multiple things. It can be a stalagmite. It could also be a column. It could be a stalactite. It could also be part of drapery.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
there's a lot happening here.
There's a lot of overlap when it comes to cave formation names. And so these definitely have a lot of drip castle-y formations down at the floor, which look like tiny little fairy houses.
Yeah.
And then up at the ceiling, there are these tiny little skinny stalactites.
Right.
Which
I think are sometimes referred to as soda straws.
Soda straws.
When they're
it was
really,
a little
really
bit
narrow.
like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so maybe it kind of resembled stars or a fairy forest or something like that.
Yeah.
It was just very special. And it was lit perfectly. You can always tell what the next thing to see is.
Oh, yeah. It's intentional lighting. And I definitely have a photo of this. And it goes into there's depth here. And it's beautiful. And just again, so awe-inspiring to be the earth did this. This is millions of years of time.
Yeah. And the fact that it was from bottom up instead of top down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wild.
Yep. So we do come upon the shortcut, and now we have to make a choice as to what we're going to do next. And with that, let's take our next break.
Looking for some new art inspired by the national parks? Then be sure to check out our online store, The Gaze Shop.
This season, as we explore the landscapes of Olympic National Park, Mount Rainier National Park, Carlsbad Cavern National Park, and Guadalupe Mountains National Park, we've got some new items and designs coming your way.
Introducing our Olympic National Park and Mount Rainier National Park posters. These 12 by 18 posters make a great addition to any home or office, or a great gift for any lover of the national parks, even if that national parks lover is you.
Whether it's art for your wall or a sticker for your water bottle, you're sure to find something that sparks your love of the outdoors. Visit shop.gazeatthenationalparks.com to bring some of the national parks home with you.
Hey y'all, it's Dusty and Mike with exciting news.
That's right, it's our episode finder. It's all about making finding our episodes even easier.
Want to find more episodes about hikes in Shenandoah? With over 10 episodes across 2 separate seasons, it would have involved a lot of scrolling and searching.
Now, with our episode finder, you can find all those episodes with a few easy clicks. That way, finding an episode on Yosemite from season 1 is just as easy as finding an episode on Zion, Yellowstone, and Haleakala, all in separate seasons.
With over 275 episodes in 35 different national parks, our episode finder will add ease when finding out more about hikes in these spaces.
But it's not just about hikes by national park. We've categorized our entire library so you can find hikes by state, hikes by terrain, and hikes by difficulty.
And all of our Trail Mix episodes are there too, so you can easily find our science-based episodes, interviews, and more.
Planning a trip to Colorado and want to hear more about our adventures there? Want to grunt it out on some really tricky trails or learn more about glaciers, grasslands, and mountains?
Just click the link in our show notes or on our Instagram bio, and it pops right up. You can also head directly to our website and look for the episode finder at the top of the navigation bar.
Conquer one hike in one national park, one park at a time, with just a few clicks with our episode finder. Happy trails!
I think we should stick with our trend here
Okay.
since we're in a cave and play the vault.
Okay.
Okay, great. So here we go. You and I have just both started this new little thing in our lives where whenever we go to the grocery store, we buy ourselves flowers and we put those flowers out in our homes.
Mm-hmm.
I love
remind
this.
us of the beauty in the world.
Right. I also like having fresh flowers in the house, right?
Sure.
And yes, there are subscription services one can do for this. Girl, those are so expensive. I've looked into them. Okay. The vault is you can only put 3 types of flowers in the vase from now until the end of time.
Okay.
What 3 flowers are you picking that you can have inside your vase?
What 3 flowers am I picking to go inside my vase? Okay. So I think peonies is definitely one because they are gigantic, they're showy, they're beautiful. I really love it when tattoo artists draw peonies just because I feel like they have like just such the folds and the curvature really are just accentuated beautifully. And I just think they're a beautiful flower. I think also hydrangea because they're puffy. They are incredibly diverse as far as like the fact that you can get different colors depending on the acidity of the soil. Sometimes you have hydrangeas that are transformative, like where they're like blue, but some of it's light blue, some of it's dark blue. There's a lot happening there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the last flower that I would put in my vase would probably be sunflowers. Because they're beautiful, they're showy, they're big. You could make an attractive arrangement.
I like that.
Yeah, so those are my 3. How about
Okay,
you,
great.
lady
Well,
girl?
I think the first one I'm going to say is freesias.
Freesias.
I'm kidding. That's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Do I smell freesias?
Mm-hmm.
That's a Devil Wears Prada reference, everybody. She can't stand them and didn't want them in any of the bouquets. So, no, the first one on my list is, and I think you know this, hydrangeas for sure.
I do.
Love them. I want a yard covered in hydrangea bushes. I'm like, I don't need anything else. I just need hydrangeas all the time, right? And I want them in all the colors. I love it when they are green and they look like the color of the leaves.
Yeah.
Love that.
As they're starting to like literally blossom.
White, pink. I mean, I love like a deep blue, purple hydrangea. Love it. I'm here for it all the time, right?
Yeah.
Love that. The other one, lilies. I love lilies inside. I just had some lilies inside and they lasted so long and they smell amazing and they make the whole house smell of lilies. And I love that.
It's a very strong smell. Some people don't like it. Like,
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I walk in and I feel like an elevated grandmother.
You are an
So,
elevated grandmother.
Thank you. I take it. And then the third one, I think, sticking with lilies in that sort of realm, I think I'm going to go with irises. I love irises.
Still life with iris.
Seriously. But also, and like just sometimes they're purple, sometimes they're white. Like it doesn't matter. I love them. They bring me a lot of joy.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going for.
Great. And that's the vault.
Well, what a cliffhanger we just left off on.
I know.
We got to the shortcut. Which way are we going to go? Well,
so many choices here in the big
y'all,
room.
we came all the way here and decided to do the shortcut.
Yep.
Just kidding.
Mhm.
Obviously not. People who love steps, we didn't do the shortcut. We kept going. But what we did do here, just so that we could see all the angles, is we did walk across the shortcut.
Right.
We took a minute to walk across the shortcut just so that we could cover literally all of the ground area possible here on this trail.
Get all the steps in.
And then we turned back around. And it did give us some views of some of the formations from another side.
Well, I think too, and we've said this before, seeing things, especially if it's a trail that's a one-way trail, or I'm sorry, especially if it's a trail that's a loop, being able to turn around and look is great because you're not going to get that view, unlike an out and back trail where you're seeing the trail in two different directions. So do yourself a favor and, especially here, spend as much time in the cave as possible.
Absolutely. This, however, what was working out in our favor here was that a lot of the families that had the screaming kids were taking the shortcut.
I thought of a better analogy.
Okay.
It's a concert versus a museum, I think is what it would be.
Yeah. That also, though, I mean, you'd have to assume that people know the culture of attending a museum.
Well,
and a
then
lot
you
don't.
give me something.
I don't have anything yet, and
Great.
I told you I would get back to you. Okay. All right.
You've
We're
shamed
still
me
drafting.
you've shamed me for using church, and I'm sorry that that's a part of my history.
Well, I don't know. I don't associate churches with being incredibly quiet spaces. And I know that there are some people who don't either. So we keep going on the trail and we come back out of the shortcut and we continue on. And the next thing we see is this formation called Caveman. And so this is like a formation on top of another formation. There's like this boulder. And on top of it is this formation called Caveman. And if you look at it, it does kind of look like a gnome-shaped face of a hobbit person, like on atop of this rock. And you can kind of see the face of the person in the rock. And then below it is a whole bunch of drapery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like looking at any sort of like cloud and being like, oh, doesn't that look like this? It's sort of a little bit like that. But, we work with what we got down in the cave. Eventually, our next formation as we continue on is the totem pole. This was an extremely tall stalagmite that stretches almost to the ceiling, so not quite a column. A column is when stalagmite and stalactite join one another. The texture of the stalagmite looks like they have different pieces stacked atop each other, which resembled a totem pole. I also have to say a lot of what we're seeing down here felt very much so like coral reef. Like there was that overarching theme. You could totally imagine, not that you'd want to be swimming in sulfuric acid, but you could totally imagine this space filled with water and doing some underwater cave exploring here with tropical fish and whatnot throughout it. Like it had that feel very much
For sure. So after we take all of this in, the trail curves to the right. We follow the trail to the right, and this leads to a big, huge opening, and we notice something familiar. And as we look down into this other huge room that we can see into, we notice this is the room we were standing in when we were in the lower cave tour.
Yes, so this is the point that Jake, if you listen to our lower cave tour episode, Jake, our ranger guide, pointed up to this with a laser pointer, and this is sort of the pit area that you could gaze down into the large room that we were in on Lower Cave, which was great to see it from a different perspective. Very cool.
It's literally called the jumping off place. As you can imagine, not a great title, but the point of that title, the reason it came to be called that was because when people were exploring this area years ago, that was where you would jump off in order to go down into the lower cave. Like we now have a different way to get to access the lower cave because of all the work that everybody has done. But right here in this spot, there is a very old ladder that's chilling out here that you can see that people used to use to access it. I mean, it is made from wire and wood. And it's like,
it's janky. Yeah.
It is janky. I would not want to put myself on that.
No.
So, however, there is some context for this ladder that they have on some of the interpretive signage.
From the NPS, on a sign titled Dangling in the Dark, quote, "See that ladder of fence wire and sticks? It was made by Jim White, an early explorer. Imagine climbing down into the lower cave as the ladder swayed above the dark pit. Dr. Willis T. Lee did just that in 1924. Lee's photo expedition with the National Geographic Society covered many miles revealing new tunnels and rooms. It followed Lee's first expedition a year earlier, which led to the establishment of Carlsbad Cavern National Monument on October 25th, 1923, end quote.
So clearly, this Jim White that they're talking about is of the White family, which is where the name for the town that's nearby, Carlsbad, White's city gets its name. I mean, it's still not great.
No.
No.
I would have added the Jim White's city.
Or just something else
Yeah.
entirely.
After we continue from jumping off place, at this point it is much quieter. So we're sort of at the back end of the loop here. And there are some folks here, but there's definitely a lot less. It's clear that a lot of people take the shortcut. And we did have a lot of people with younger kids even going down the natural entrance. So it's a lot. And I'd imagine that taking the shortcut back to the lunchroom for the restroom or just to exit is probably a part of a lot of people's plans here.
Yeah. So we make it to an area known as the top of the cross. And do you want to tell us about this since you've decided to revive your religious practice?
I will not be shamed for my love of the Lord. So one of the reasons it's named this is because if you look up at the ceiling, there are formations that look like angels' wings. This may have been where it got its name. The trail also takes on a cross-like shape, and this is the top, so geometry has contributed to this.
I mean, technically speaking, the big room is kind of shaped like a cross or a lowercase t without a little loop at the bottom. So, right. Not that one can't associate religious imagery with the shape. It's also geometrically that too.
Sure. Yeah.
So there is a seating area where we can sit and relax. It's a small amphitheater. We do take a minute to pause here and hang out. Becky was walking around taking different photos from different angles. So we just sort of like relaxed and waited until Becky met back up with us.
And with that, let's take our next break.
Hey y'all, it's Dusty and Mike with exciting news.
That's right. It's our episode finder. It's all about making finding our episodes even easier.
Want to find more episodes about hikes in Shenandoah? With over 10 episodes across 2 separate seasons, it would have involved a lot of scrolling and searching.
Now, with our episode finder, you can find all those episodes with a few easy clicks. That way, finding an episode on Yosemite from season 1 is just as easy as finding an episode on Zion, Yellowstone, and Haleakala, all in separate seasons.
With over 275 episodes in 35 different national parks, our episode finder will add ease when finding out more about hikes in these spaces.
But it's not just about hikes by national park. We've categorized our entire library so you can find hikes by state, hikes by terrain, and hikes by difficulty.
And all of our Trail Mix episodes are there too, so you can easily find our science-based episodes, interviews, and more.
Planning a trip to Colorado and want to hear more about our adventures there? Want to grunt it out on some really tricky trails or learn more about glaciers, grasslands, and mountains?
Just click the link in our show notes or on our Instagram bio, and it pops right up. You can also head directly to our website and look for the episode finder at the top of the navigation bar.
Conquer one hike in one national park, one park at a time, with just a few clicks with our episode finder. Happy trails!
It's time for Drag Corner, something we do every episode. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Chapel Grown.
Interesting. Chapel Grown.
Chapel Grown.
Great.
So, who is Chapel Grown?
Chapel Grown is...
Also, how are we spelling grown? Is it with an A or a W?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that adds to the ambiguity of the character. So
Sure. Maybe it's never spelled out and only heard. Okay, who
so
is
Chapel Grown is a very tall church queen.
I don't think so. No, are we seriously doing this? Chapel Grown. She's tall. I can't believe you. Oh my God.
Because my faith has come back like a flaming sword this episode.
Oh God. I was going to offer that she's like Chapel Grown after like 50 years of experience.
Oh, so she's grizzled.
A little bit like
and her bones
80 years
ache.
old, still doing it.
Still doing hot to go.
Yep. That's right.
Mhm.
I mean, God, I hope so. I certainly hope
with her
so.
her Afghan around
I'm
her
gonna
shoulders.
be in the nursing home with my walker, like doing those moves too, for sure. That's right. More like chapel overgrown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So chapel grown. So she is an achy queen. Is what it is.
Okay.
Tiger Balm is what she gives out at all of her shows.
Oh, I see.
Because she's sore. She's a gym queen. That's it.
A gym?
Gym.
Like she goes to the
works
gym.
out a lot and she's sore.
Oh,
and
okay.
so she, as a part of her act, come out into the audience and give chair massages. Because she knows how sore and
we
tender
are all
everybody.
over the place with this queen today. We went to a lot of places.
You allowed me a tapestry. You allowed me a blank canvas.
Well, she's like a tall church. She's a steeple, essentially. And then and then she's like on a walker, and now she's like working out at the gym and giving people massages. I mean, we've gone to a lot of
She
places.
can do it all.
She can. Maybe she's a different interpretation of chapel grown every time, right?
This is why it's never spelled out.
Maybe
it's just
so.
said.
Maybe the next time she just comes out and her entire look is just weeds. It's weeds from the garden that are an overgrown garden, and she is chapel grown. That's right. She came like she was weeds from a garden from a chapel yard or something. How many ways can we interpret chapel grown? Every show is different.
Every show is different.
Every single one. That's right. So I feel like she does chapel grown music. Yeah.
She covers it, but she alters it to suit her needs for the specific iteration that she is.
Right. So maybe she is like, maybe there's
Sorry,
one.
I said iteration. How about iteration?
Iteration. That's right. That's right. Maybe
Punchy.
she does, instead of the giver, she does the liver. It's all about like, liver health. Or what else would she do? She would do like hot to go would become about soup.
Sure.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. Or Tiger Balm.
Or Tiger Balm. A
Yep.
lot of ways.
Icy hot.
Icy hot.
Yeah.
Taking care of joints.
ICYHOTOTO.
Oh my God, you did it.
Get your icy hot to go.
Okay. Not an official sponsor, but feel free to send us icy hot if you'd like. Oh my God. Well, maybe that's her merch is just like the ointments, the ointment aisle from the drugstore. It's just like the ointment aisle.
Balms.
There's Bengay, there's Tiger Balm, there's Bag Balm, Aquaphor, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, ladies and gentlemen,
Welcome to the stage.
everything you could have ever wanted for one queen, all in one place.
Chapel grown.
Well, everybody, right after we left the little sign that said INRI at the top of the cross here in Carlsbad Cavern, thank you for those who got that reference. No, we did leave the area known as Top of the Cross, and we continued on and get to this tiny little formation that's got water in it. And it's this tiny little pool of water, but there's this very strange sign. And we were like, what? Why is the sign this way? And then we look, and you could read the sign in the reflection of the water.
Right.
And what did it say?
Mirror Lake.
Hilarious. Hilarious.
It was. We had a cross there was like a little bit. This was more like a little bridgey here, right? It had
There's
changed,
some of that. Yeah.
changed from a paved path to like a little bridgey area here.
Yeah.
So just a quick note here. When there is water in a cave, please never throw coins or anything in there. Do not introduce anything to the cave environment that does not need to be there.
That's right.
Like any space, like in Yellowstone, don't throw anything into any of the geothermal features, folks.
Seriously.
It shouldn't have to be said, but apparently there are people that need it said to them.
That's right. Over and over and over again. That's right. So we continue on, and soon we walk by this spot called the Bottomless Pit. Insert whatever joke you'd like here. So the trail kind of wraps around this area, but essentially it is a hole in the ground that literally just cascades down into the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
This was Mike's favorite spot in
And
the
this is-
whole trail.
This is exactly where
This is your
I
imagination.
return to. I
right.
return here.
You,
nightly.
I mean, this was your origin place.
Exactly.
You emerged from this spot.
Mhm. And
right
then I
here.
found religion at top of the cross.
There it was. So we do have context from some of the interpretive signage.
So from NPS, quote, one evening in 1898, a massive swarm of bats spiraled into the dusty pink sky. Teenage cowboy Jim White watched the bats in awe. Must be a whale of a big cave. The boy crept along the cactus and peered over the brink. He lit a dry stolk and dropped it down into the hole. The glowing embers twirled almost 80 feet before striking the rock below. Now it was his turn. Jim returned with a lantern and a ladder he made with fencing wire and sticks. He used these to overcome the 36-foot drop you see ahead. End quote.
So this is a little bit more information about sort of where this bottomless pit is headed and how far it goes and like sort of what he did to try and explore it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any interest in doing that.
You don't want to dive down into the darkness?
No, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. I mean,
You're like,
we
the
live
darkness already surrounds
We
me.
live in America. So we continue our way back and we're curving around now to the left and then to the right again to sort of like complete the cross of this section. And there are definitely fewer formations over on this side. So the way back kind of feels a little faster because essentially what we get to do is see all the different formations
From across the way.
from the other side, from the different angle that we got to see on our way in.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that should be noted too, because we haven't said it yet. The big room is incredibly open. You can see where people are on the other side. You can see the formations on the other side. You're just gazing into the cavern, and it's all its openness. So there is beauty in the fact that you are able to see things in multiple spaces, which, like out in the world and on a loop trail, might not always be the case. So this side is a little quieter than what we experienced when we first started.
So we do pass two formations, Crystal Spring Dome and Rock of Ages, more Christian symbolism.
Mm-hmm.
Things we'd have less of a problem with if it weren't so historically tied to colonization and genocide.
Mm-hmm. I imagined Rock of Ages being
Like the musical
the
Rock
musical
of Ages.
Rock of Ages,
Like
the
the-
jukebox musical.
Right, that
Mm-hmm.
one.
Mm-hmm.
So these formations do kind of look like enormous, gigantic, thick columns,
Yeah.
even though they're not columns because they're not
No,
connected.
they-
Columns equal like top to
Top to bottom, yeah.
These are from the ground, so I guess technically
Stalagmites.
a stalagmite, but
But they are reefy. They have
very
like
reefy.
this sort of like pour-overy feel, like just it feels like coral could be growing off of these and fishes could be swimming around them.
That's right, fishes.
Fisheye.
So we also passed the Painted Grotto, which is kind of like the last thing on the way out. And it is this totally beautiful, stunning little like cove feature inside of the rock that is like lit perfectly. And it's got soda straws coming from the top and it's got some coming up from the bottom too. I mean, you could almost describe it like baleen from a whale's mouth, like is the way. And some of them are connected.
Yeah.
Like they've created some columns
Yep.
in there.
Some teeny tiny thin columns.
Yeah.
As we're walking, we do notice something to the right of our way out. It's a spot where we entered for the lower cave tour. So we knew that we were close to the lunchroom and our exit.
So after about an hour and 15 minutes, we return to the lunchroom and we have to make a decision now, which is, are we going to take the natural entrance back out and do the incline for like a whole mile, or are we going to take the elevator?
We took the elevator.
We took the elevator.
we were zonked. I mean, we had done the lower cave tour earlier. We walked down the natural entrance. We did all of the big room, and we had done a hefty day of hiking the day prior in
We had
Guadalupe
done all
Mountains.
of Guadalupe Peak,
Yeah,
plus a little extra
Manzanita
afterwards.
and Smith Spring, and we knew that we were headed back to Guadalupe Mountains National Park the following day because these parks are a half hour away from each other to do more hiking. So we opted to be kinder to our bodies, which is something we don't often do, and we took the elevator up.
All right, so let's put the big room on the Cairnstone scale.
All right. I'm going to say a 4.
Really? Why
Yeah.
a 4?
Well, because it's paved, because there is some incline and, like things that you need to move around and about. I do feel like maybe I'm categorizing that to maybe I need to divorce it from the natural entrance, but I don't feel like it is something that is by any means in the middle of the road. I think it's a little tougher than, like, I don't know, what could be like a very flat path. So I just feel like you do have a little bit of trudging to do. So a 4 felt appropriate to me. What do you
Okay.
say?
A 2.
Okay. It's rare that I'm above you.
I
But
know. Well, I would say a 2 because it is paved and it is pretty flat the whole time. And while there is like a little bit of up and down, like it's, I think it's definitely definitely easier than it is more difficult. I mean,
Yeah.
the natural entrance is its own thing.
yeah, I think that's probably why I kind of like looped it in my brain. So I'll bump it down to a 3.
You don't have to.
No,
You
no,
can
no. I
keep
think
whatever you want.
I think a 4 might be a little too much. So I think a 3 feels a little bit better for me.
Okay, so that means 5 out of 20
Mm-hmm.
Karen stones,
Or 1/4.
or 1 out of 4.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's end this episode like we end all of our full-length episodes with some Jeopardy-style trivia.
Why don't you get us started, Dusty?
All right, great. Are you ready for my category?
Yep.
It's called Almost Before and After Speleothems.
Great. I love it.
Okay, so in this category, a speleothem is a cave formation. So it's going to have a cave formation in it. And then the other part will be an idiomatic phrase.
Okay.
Great. So for 100, when this little cave formation drips all the way to the floor and starts to form because really doesn't really have anywhere else to go.
What is stalagmite as well?
That's it.
Okay.
What is stalagmite as well?
Okay.
Okay, for 200, when this little cave formation is keeping a secret and isn't telling anybody. I'll give you a little bit more. When this little cave formation that is dripping from the ceiling is keeping a secret and isn't telling anybody.
What is stalactite lipped?
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, great. For 300, when this quadrilateral little cave formation needs to have an idea beyond the usual parameter of its usual ideas.
What is boxwork the system? What is
boxwork is correct, but having an idea beyond the usual parameters.
What is box working outside of the box?
What is think outside the box work?
Got it. Okay.
There you go. I'm going to give it to you.
Okay.
For 300. For 400, when this little cave formation on the floor is working on solving a mystery and puts 2 and 2 together, and it may lead to solving the case.
What is might this be a clue?
Close. What is stalagmite be onto something?
Okay.
Great. I'll give it to
Okay.
you. I wanted to create an entire category called stalagmite,
Mm-hmm.
but it was hard to figure that one out. But for 500, when this chilly cave formation decides to take the road less traveled because that made all the difference.
What is Robert Frostwork?
That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right. So my Jeopardy is called The Big Room, and this is all about big, important spaces in architecture.
I almost wrote this category. I'm not going to lie. We've still, after 7 years, never done it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, when we finally write the same category, does that mean that we have to stop?
That's it. We're dead to each other.
Okay, great.
Great. For 100, this space, which is utilized by the College of Cardinals when picking a new pope, features frescoes by Botticelli. But the most famous frescoes that line the ceiling and the entire altar wall are by Michelangelo.
What is the Sistine Chapel?
Correct. For 200, this room, with interesting reflective qualities at the Palace of Versailles, was the site of the signing of the Treaty of Versailles, which officially ended World War I.
Oh, you want the name of the room?
I do.
Is it the mirror? What is the mirror room? What is?
I'll take it. What is the
mirror?
Hall of Mirrors?
Oh, the Hall of Mirrors.
Okay. Oh, you want the room. For 300, this space in the Turtle Bay neighborhood of Manhattan is where delegates from all 193 member states meet to discuss world issues.
What is the United Nations
Yes,
building?
the General Assembly Hall.
Okay.
For 400, this Las Vegas space can hold up to 20,000 people and features a 160,000 square foot wraparound LED display on the interior, while the exterior is coated with a record 580,000 square foot LED display.
What is the Sphere?
Correct. And for 500, this gigantic space, expected to be completed in 2026, is the architectural design work of Antonio Gaudí and can hold up to 9,000 tourists, parishioners, or a mix of both, as it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
What is Mission Space in Epcot?
That's it.
What is Sagrada Familia
That's correct.
in Barcelona? I've been there.
And so have I.
Mm-hmm. We were there the same year. That was when we ran across each other for the first time.
Looking for more episodes like the one you just heard? Then be sure to check out our episode finder for episodes by park, state, hiking difficulty, and terrain, as well as all of our Trail Mix episodes in one helpful place. Click the link in the show notes of this episode, our Instagram bio, or visit our website to make your listening experience even easier.
This has been Gaze at the National Parks, the podcast, and we're here to remind you to hike early and hike often, and that adventure is always out there.
Gaze at the National Parks was created, produced, edited, and hosted by us,
Dustin Ballard
and Michael Ryan.
To see images from this episode, follow our Instagram at Gaze at the National Parks. To contact us, email us at gazeatthenationalparks@gmail.com. And to find out more about the parks visited on this show, visit our website, gazeatthenationalparks.com. That's Gaze, G-A-Z-E.
All original artwork featured on Instagram and on our website is by me, Michael Ryan.
All original music was written and performed by Dave Seaman and Mariella Klinger, with Sean Sklios on guitar. Our music producer is Skylar Fortgang.
We would also like to acknowledge that while recording this episode that we were on the traditional and stolen lands of the Lenape people, also known as New Jersey.